Let's jump in and get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, September 10th, 2019. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. And I'm here with Carol Ray. Carol, welcome. Carol's the founder of Notary to Pro. Thanks
Good morning.
Carol.
Good morning, you all.
Yeah, thank you so much for carving time out of your day. I know things are crazy busy for you too with all the new students and the formers or graduates, as you call them. Yeah. What are you excited about this week?
Okay, I've got several things. I actually wrote them down. You and Laura are always excited about projects you have and people you're going to meet and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm really excited because I'm in my office this morning. My window's open, and Bill's got the fountain on our patio on.
Nice.
I get to listen to that. It's beautiful. I love it. I am excited because my daughter's little pug, her name is Suki. She comes into my office bouncing in here like a freight train and manages to lick me all over the place. And I'm excited because something happened last night that was very unusual. I got a new student, and she had a very unusual last name, a name I hadn't heard in many years. And so when I was talking to her, I said, you don't happen to know a Frankie and a Grace that have that name? And she said that was her grandmother, and Frank was her father. And I said, well, when I was 10 years old, I was in love with your father, who was then 13.
Wow.
That was my first crush. They were our next door neighbors. Wow. In here. That was 60. Well, I'm 76, and they left, so it had to be almost 70 years ago, like 65 years ago.
That is crazy small world.
That's something. And she lives in Roseville, not far from us.
That's pretty amazing.
And I talked to the aunt. I talked to her aunt, who was the sister in that one, and she played with my brother a lot. So it was kind of exciting.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I love that. Great story. I love that. And I thought you were going somewhere else with Grace and Frankie, which I love watching as well. So.
Oh, I never even thought of that. You know what? It never even dawned on me. I watched that too, but it comes back in 2020.
It's my new Golden Girls. I love it.
But I don't think he even probably would remember who I was. He had no idea that I was lovesick.
Secret crush. Oh, that's sweet. I love it. All right, Laura, are you with us? Laura Biewer.
I'm here.
There you are. Hey, Laura. Laura Biewer is the founder of CoachMeLaura.com, among so many other things. Laura, thank you so much for being here with us today. What are you excited about this week?
Lots to be excited about, but I'm going to pick two. The two are one, this Saturday. This Saturday is going to be that hospital skill builder, and I will be talking to anybody who wants to join me and listen about what's different about working in that environment, number one. And then number two, how do I get in that environment? Because it's not quite the same as just Yelping or using other, online presence. There's a lot more relationship building that goes on in that. So if that's something you're interested in, it's free, my favorite word. Go on 9 o'clock on Saturday morning and join me for that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm very excited about is in less than 30 days is the first symposium. This is the one that's in Irvine, California, Southern California. I'll be drawing down the day before, and I look forward to those of you who are in that part of California to be joining, or even if you've come to us from somewhere else. We have 5 speakers. We have some vendors there. We're going to have a great time, and I have a great collaboration project that I'll be kicking off there as well. You guys will get a sneak peek of it if you join me for the hospital skill builder. But then we're going to actually do it at the symposium. So lots of excitement around both of those activities.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I love how much you're doing. So that's great. And I put links to the skill builder. That's the medical facilities training in there. Also a link to the Notary Symposium. It's not too late to get in there, right, Laura? You still have seats available.
Yeah, I still have some seats available. So if you want to go to the Irvine one, of course, the November one, November 16th is Northern California. That one, I think, only has about 10 or 15 seats left. It's starting to sell out. So if you want to hold your seat, go to notarysymposium.com.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. So I posted those in there for you guys. And then for me, super excited. I know I've shared on social media anyway that I'm writing a book about building a business as a loan signing agent. It's pretty much done. And I did a peer review this week with Laura. Carol were able to read those with me and for me. And I really appreciate that. I'm super excited about it, nervous about that. This is a whole new experience and kind of a bucket list item that I've always wanted to do since I was 4 years old, was write a book. So I'm real excited that it's kind of coming to a head here. And I leave on Tuesday to go to a book launch workshop that's going to actually like hold my hand through the launch process. So super excited about that.
I'm on page 47.
Oh, nice. Thank you. I really appreciate you reading it. Okay, guys, let's jump in. And well, first, let's open it. Laura, I'm high on coffee right now. Laura, you've got a great presentation about building trust. I wonder, would you like to go first today?
Sure, it's very quick.
Yeah.
I love when I just happen to come upon something that I think, wow, this is just really easy, straightforward way to talk about this. Let me see if I can pull this baby up. And move this out of my way a little bit. Go away. And see if I can make that bigger. And slideshow. Okay, so the questions are, does everybody see my slides?
Yes.
And still see some of us? Great, so then I think it's working. So, you know, I follow a lot of people. I don't have as much time as I used to read entire books. So what I do like to do is I follow people who write articles, and sometimes they'll write something that I think, God, that was like so easy. Why isn't everybody doing it? And I realized nobody thought of it that way. So in this case, this is Thomas Opong, and he talks about an FBI behavior expert to talk about how to quickly build trust before you build relationships. And I think this rang out to me because of something that Bill has said, and I have said, which is, you know, we don't do everything on the first meeting, right? You don't say hello and then ask them to marry you before the night is over. So it takes time to just even warm up. So that's how we're wired. We're wired for connection. But, you know, here's the deal about our connections. We feel very deeply for ourselves, and we want to feel a sense of belonging and importance, and we like and trust familiar things. And trust is something that goes two ways. It can be a conscious, slow decision, like getting married. That is something that takes time. And then, you know, a lot of times it's something that we just innately do. For instance, we'll pay for services before we even get them because we trust that they're going to be delivered to us. But gaining trust from others can take time, but a single action can just ruin it all. So, you know, you could take months and years to build something, and you could do one thing that just, it all goes down the drain, and that's it. So I want to just focus on the initial. And I get a lot of feedback that says, well, Laura, it's easy for you because, you know, you're an extrovert and you're out there and, you know, you walk into a room and you just start talking to everybody. And yeah, I don't know how to do that. And the thing is, when I try to tell people, well, how to do that, I even had a hard time formulating what to do specifically, what actions to take to make that happen when it's not something that feels natural for you to happen. And one is, and I'm thinking about this in terms of business. I'm at a business seminar, business conference. I'm at a business meeting. I'm reaching out to somebody I don't know. The first thing is I let them know that there's some kind of limit around the time I'm going to take from them. So, because they don't know me yet, they don't know how much they're going to love me. So we might want to just put them at ease and say, look, I just need 10 minutes. So now they have an idea that, you know what, it's just 10 minutes, and then respect that time. Unless they extend it, respect the time limit. Look non-threatening. So the easiest way to look non-threatening is smile. Just smile. That's all we've got to do. And it automatically disarms people. The best way to project confidence is making eye contact. So it isn't the words you say, it's the idea of looking non-threatening and then making eye contact so that you're making that connection with them. And that can be 60-70% of the interaction. I found this one really exciting for me personally because I tend to talk fast. And they said, if you want to add credibility to what you're saying, slow it down. Studies have shown that when you speak a little more slowly, it adds credibility to what you're saying. And so that's an important lesson for me, probably the biggest lesson out of this whole article that I read, because I tend to get excited. And when I get excited, I speak faster. And although people can listen even faster than what I'm saying, because we have that ability as humans, it doesn't allow anything to soak in, to have impact. And so I need to slow it down and give them a moment to take it in. Just because they hear it doesn't mean they took it in. And this is another one. This next one was important to me. Just listen. You don't have to be ready with your story. You don't have to be ready with all the answers. Encourage them to talk about themselves. Be curious and ask open-ended questions. Use the content that they just gave you to ask for more information, to circle back around to them so that we're not standing there listening, preparing what we are going to say. What we need to be doing is be in the moment with them and listen to what they say. Think, wow, that's interesting. I want to ask them about that, right? We should be focused on them in this conversation, however long it is. This isn't the time to be pulling out my business card. This isn't the time to tell them all about what a great service I have. This is the time for them. And in that 5 or 10 minutes, you can build quite a bit of rapport with them. Yep, that's it. I only had those slides. It was like 5 things. Look how easy that was. Smile, right? Don't, come off non-threatening with, your posture, relax, listen, slow it down, focus on them. I don't have to be the answer woman. It's okay. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. He wrote this article and he did quote a couple of authors himself. The top 10 techniques for building quick rapport is one of the books that he took some of this information from. So I hope you enjoyed that. And let's go to our regularly scheduled program.
I love it, Laura. So there's a couple of things that really jumped out at me. Number one, this is, as you're listening to this, it clicks for sure. This seems like common sense, but as we know, common sense is not always common practice. And I think it's so important, especially for the seasoned signing agents that are listening, to remember this foundational stuff, because sometimes we get in a routine and we get busy and we're thinking about our next appointment and we forget that staying present and focusing and smiling, that the RBF, the resting bitch face, sometimes we're thinking and we're stressed out and we don't realize the impact that that's having on other people. And I love it. The other thing was when you first started, you talked about laying the foundation for trust. And I think Warren Buffett said it takes 20 years to build trust and a good reputation and 5 minutes to destroy it.
Right.
One careless act or unconscious act, because it's usually unconscious with us in our communication style, or a lapse in judgment can really tarnish a really healthy relationship.
There's nothing more frustrating than talking with someone, and you can see that what they're doing is not listening to you at all. They're planning for what they're going to say.
Yeah.
You shut up.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Awesome. I love it, Laura. Thank you for bringing that to us. And let's jump into the questions. We have a ton of questions still. I did not, maybe you know this, maybe you didn't, but I did not solicit new questions this week because we have a ton of them. So we're going to jump in here. and get started here. All right, this first one is from Taylor. Taylor says, I'm so stoked to get started, but also at a loss of where in the world I should start. I know reaching out to escrow agencies is a must, but I'm wondering exactly how to do that in a professional and impactful way. Obviously, making a great first impression is important. Also, I'm curious how to advertise on notary signing websites like 123 Notary and those sites when I have virtually no experience as a signing agent and I'm actually brand new notary in general as well. Does that jump out to either one of you? Carol, Laurel, when I jump in?
Well, I get this question all the time. Mm-hmm. I know that you, Bill, for good reason, promote, of course, the having access to escrow and title people. But when I have brand new agents, the last thing I want to do is to encourage them with no experience to start knocking on the doors of title companies and escrow companies. Because quite frankly, I don't feel that anybody's going to pay any attention to them. You need to have some kind of reputation and experience before you start doing this. So personally, I say reach out to really good companies, try to get as much work as you can. Your profile is extremely important. In fact, I just did a video interview this weekend with Ronnie Mickle of Unlimited Ink Notary, and he is a signing service, and he has some really good information about what notaries should do, how they should set up their profile, and the things that they should do to make them attractive to companies. So one of the things I think is really important is that when you create your biography, which everyone needs, be honest. You can tell people that you haven't done signings, but there's so much more that you can add to that. The fact that you like people, where you've been trained, where your certifications come from, the things that you have done in the past that will work very well with being a signing agent. And just pull out all of the positive things that people can see, and that won't stop you. I watch my graduates all the time getting a lot of work from really good signing services. Once you start to do that, opportunities will come up. And I think I mentioned something last time about one of the graduates. She lived not far from the title company. She got the work from an agency, and they had to have it. This was one of those that you had to get it signed and get it back ASAP. She had a label to take it or to send it FedEx. But when I found out she was only a short distance from the title company, I suggested that she take it directly there. Make a good impression. Bring that package back yourself. It extended her time by maybe a half an hour of driving, but that left a really, really good impression for both the signing service and the title company. Those, you talk about it all the time, Bill. Those relationships don't just happen.
Yeah.
And that's important. So that's my opinion. I just say don't even try at the beginning.
Excellent suggestions. For me, my suggestion would be to step back a little bit further. There's this, I think, when you're just starting out, you're in scramble mode, in hustle mode, which there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of this opens up for you if you step back and get clarity about what kind of business you want to have. So if you step back, I talk about this in a few other videos too, and you choose the business model that's going to work for you and your lifestyle and what you're trying to create. You're going to decide, do I just want to be an independent contractor for existing signing companies? Where then you know what your plan of action is. If you know that you want to be able to free to travel and you're not big into building relationships and you don't want the maintenance that comes along with that, with the escrow direct, then you know that you could just go and be an independent contractor for those existing companies. And you know that you have to sign up with a lot of those to find the gems that you will want to work with and have that relationship with. If you want to grow an enterprise and you want to you enjoy relationships You enjoy the financial benefits. You enjoy networking, so you have a team to refer out when you're not available. If you enjoy that component of it, then you can consider the escrow direct. Still, to speak to what Carol's talking about on your experience level too, either way, you're probably going to want to start with signing companies. You know, when I first got started, I didn't know signing companies existed. I didn't know the NNA existed. I was just bull in the china shop out there. I just did it. And I have never had a single escrow officer ever ask me how much experience I have, because I don't present that I'm inexperienced. I present as a professional. This is what I am. I'm a loan signing agent, and I bring this to the table. And they want to do business. They wanted to be a part of that. You know, one of my strengths is enrolling people, like getting them excited about whatever it is that I'm doing. So they were excited to work with me too. And when you present that way, you can overcome some of those obstacles. Did I know what I was doing at every signing? No. Do I know what I'm doing at every signing now? I still hit surprises. There's escrow officers that have been in this for 30 years that hit stumbling blocks in weird situations. That's okay. We're not expected to know everything. It's how resourceful you are. It's how you handle that. And kind of speaking to Laura's even presentation, if you walk into a signing appointment and you give 80% of your attention to the paperwork and only 20% to the customer, that's going to be a miserable experience for both of you. Number one, you're obsessing about what they're thinking about as they're staring at you doing paperwork that you don't know what you're doing. If you flip it, give 80% of your attention to the people, engage with them, make eye contact, smile. You can say anything about this paperwork. You know, this lender's doing things weird. Do you mind if I take a minute to read this to make sure it is what I think it is? You could be scrambling like, holy crap, I've never seen this before. This wasn't in the training. Oh, that's what that is. It's going to authorize the escrow account. That changes the entire dynamic of your business, so you can pretty much step into any situation. Because we can only control so much of our environment too, where there's going to be times when we don't get to review the documents. There's going to be times when we're at a signing and the documents are going to change, and we have to be able to pivot in those moments. So we have to be ready to do that on that. Laura, anything to add on that one? I'm sorry, we spent a lot of time on that one, but I know we get that question a lot.
Basically, you both said what I would say. So.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. Well, then we'll move on. Great question, Taylor. Thank you. And Adrian asked this on office hours this morning too. Once you receive a call from a signing company for an assignment, how do you decide if it's worth the fee or not while you're on the call, since you're not in a position to figure out mileage, et cetera, right away? Laura, you want to take that one?
Well, you know what? This does take a little bit of advanced research for your own business. So I know that I can make money at a certain price level within my own city. I also know that that expense goes up as I'm asked to drive out further, both in time and expense. And I also know that it can go up if it's a loan package like a VA package that I did last night, or multiple signers beyond 2, 3, or 4, right? Sometimes those different ones. So I need to know that really about myself, about what's my baseline that I think I can turn a signing over. And this doesn't matter if it's a loan signing or I'm going to a hospital. I need to have that as part of my reference material for my own business. And that's where I start. So when I'm called, and then I ask questions, you know, where is it? The zip code or the city? So now I can get that first layer of, okay, it's within my territory. I know what I need for that. Then I might ask, are there 1 or 2 signers? And if they say, oh, there's 3, now I start thinking, okay, I got to add a little extra time there. And then I might ask, are there any special extra requirements? Do I need to scan it back, put it in the mail, be a courier? Is there anything extra you need me to do? And those are how I start adding on until I get to where I think, roughly, this is the money I'm looking for. So then I say, okay, I am available and I'm happy to do that. And here's my fee. I don't wait for them and say, well, what are you offering? I tell them what I expect for the work that I'm going to do. They're hiring a professional should know how to calculate what their fee should be. And then if they say, oh, well, you know, I can only pay this much, you can start making the decision. Is that still within where you feel is profitable or not. And if not, you say, thanks very much. I think you're going to need to get another notary because this isn't a fit for my business. And you move on.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in being able to say that too. And also it's okay to say, do you mind if I pull over first? I just want to make sure this is where I think it is. All right. I'll sometimes put them on speakerphone and then jump on my phone, because I learned several times the hard way that I don't know my state as well as I thought I did. So I end up thinking it's 45 minutes and it's 4.5 hours away. But it's totally okay to do that. That's your responsibility. And a company that respects you is going to sit on the line with you for a little bit. And if they're not willing to do that, you probably don't want to work with them anyway.
That's right.
Carol, anything?
We were in Arizona. Yeah, I'll give a little information here. If anybody wants to take the time to do it, it's worth it. When we moved to Arizona, I had never been there before. I have no idea where I was. And when Bill and I started doing signings, which was almost right away, I sat down and I did a circular map. And I eliminated certain things, like when we had to go up into the mountains and maybe there was private roads and things like that. And I sat down and I wrote down a list of every zip code that was within the area that I was willing to go for a certain amount of money. And so if somebody called and they asked me to go to a certain place, I either by city name or area or the zip code, could see right away how far it was and if it was in a place that I didn't want to go to, because there's, as Bill knows, I'm sure there's a lot of back roads that you can really get into trouble in Arizona. But that helped me so much. And right now my daughter Lori is doing signings in Northern California. She's not familiar with this area. She hasn't been here that long. And so she's been taking signings that are just way too far for the money that she's getting, which she's learning. And as you start figuring it out, it's good to not just keep it in your mind, but write it down. No, I'm not going there ever again, or this is too far. You have to go through certain things to get there.
Yeah, love it. Tracy says, I need suggestions on how to word a bio for the signing agent websites. And I think we're going to do a special training on this. In fact, I've got 2 special guests that specialize in profiles that are going to join us here soon. But for right now, do you have any suggestions for those that would like to are creating their profiles? Laura, can we jump to you on this one?
Sure. A couple things. One is I'm not afraid to utilize my personal and business skills and history that were before I was a notary, because a lot of those skills apply. And so that's the first thing I do, especially if I don't have a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience, so then I can leverage some of that. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that when I'm writing a bio or a profile, I want to talk in terms of how I solve their problem, not just about all the credentials that I have, because that's pretty much old. And second of all, a lot of other notaries do the same thing. Yes, I'm certified, and yes, I've done this many signings, and blah, blah, blah. And so it doesn't stand out. And when you think, like when I think about being a mobile notary, I don't think that I'm selling notarizations. That's not the problem I'm solving. They could go to the bank and do it. The problem I'm solving is accessibility. Right? I'm providing it where people can't get it. So I'm serving those who are unable to access notarization. That's the problem I'm solving for people. So think about what it is that you're solving for them. And that's what you want to put in your bio, because then that's what speaks to them. Now there's some other things, but I'll let other people talk.
Yeah, I love that. Because so many, and you can see it in 95% of the profiles. If you go to signingagent.com, they all say the same thing. And we're all real proud that we have $100,000 E&O insurance, that we're NNA certified. Well, to be on that website, you have to be NNA certified. So that's not a differentiator. So you want to get a little more creative. And I have like the 4 Ps on the profile that I look for. Is picture. You've got to have a picture on your profile. Even if you hate pictures, you don't want to take pictures of yourself, you've got to have one. I skip right over anybody who does not have a profile picture on any of their profile information. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, I got to know what I'm getting. Number two, it shows a level of professionalism that you take this seriously and that you present well. And then the other thing is your personality. We got interference there, sorry. So the other thing is personality. Show your individual personality in your profile. That's how I, as a signing company owner, am going to make decisions about who I want to work with. And another component of that is the third P, which is passion. Show why you are in this business. What is it about this? I'm not looking for a paper pusher. And I talk about this in the 4 pillars of building relationships. You can be an excellent stamper. You can be a technical notary expert. But if you do not have a personality that's likable and easy to work with, I don't want to work with you. I want the whole package. So that needs to come through in your profile. And the 4th P that Laura mentioned is problem solving. Be the solution to somebody's problem. Carol, any other feedback on you on that one? I know we get this.
Yeah, one thing that's very important. Tell the truth. If you don't have experience, don't fudge, okay? Things into the, into the bio. But the most important thing is, because I hear it all the time, well, what do? I don't want to tell them that I've never done it before. It's okay. It's okay to do that. And I'm telling you, I'm watching people getting signings within a few days. It's just amazing. So it's all of the things that you guys said, but be honest.
And the thing is, if with the right personality, people are willing to work with people with the right personality and the skill sets that are passionate about what they do. There are companies that will hire them because they're enthusiastic about what they do. They're forever learning, you know. The other thing is, too, is you don't have to just start out. I'm new. I don't know what to do. You don't have to do that. You're the only one that knows your experience level or your lack of experience. Focus on who you were before you became a notary. Like Laura mentioned, we all have done amazing things. We have awards on our wall for one thing or another, whether it's Employee of the Month or Best Salesperson or whatever it is. All of those skill sets make you a really great notary. Enhance that. But I love what Carol says. We don't have to fib either. We don't have to lie about having 2,000 signings under our belt. That's not what we're looking for. And I can tell you, when I'm looking for notaries to hire, I'm not looking at the number of signings. In fact, some of the worst experiences I've had on signingagent.com are the 20-year and the 15-year veterans. Their attitude about this business is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for young and green and hungry, the people who are just excited and passionate about this business, and it comes through in their profile. And I saw a question about how you show personality in text. Don't be too technical in your writing. Write a paragraph about yourself and your business and what you bring to the table. It doesn't have to be cold and clinical like a resume. It can show. You can use colorful words. You can talk about why you're in this business, the impact that it's had on you, all that stuff you can tie into it. And if you're not good at writing, either build that skill set because it will serve you everywhere, or hire someone else to do it for you.
I think another thing that's really important, and believe it or not, I will ask people sometimes when they call to sign up for Notary to Pro if they really like people. You can get a sense of those people that do and some people that don't. And this is the God's truth. I have actually turned down some students over the years because you just get that feeling they're just in that for the money. This is just not a money occupation. If you don't care about people, don't even try to get in. And I've told people, this isn't for you. You need to do something else. So I think that's really important too. And I'm going to tell a real quick story. I'll make it very quick. But I have a friend of mine who owns a signing service years and years. And I used to help them. I used to have help signing service owners sometimes if they had to go to the dentist and they say, Carol, could you cover this? And one of them called me one day. She was just so upset. She was crying. She had found 2 notaries off of Notary Rotary. One of them claimed to have done 5,000 signings, the other one 2,000 signings. This both happened on the same day. She got a call in the evening from the one that supposedly had done 2,000 signings, wanted to know what this document was. It was called a Notice of Right to Cancel. That was one. The other one was they got the documents back, the title company, the next day, and there was no deed of trust in it. There was a note, no deed of trust. 5,000 signings under her belt and didn't notice that there was no deed of trust in the package. Upset.
Yeah, that's tough. And we run into that. And it's usually not the 1 year, the 2 year, the 3 year signing agents. That's why I look for that 1 to 5 year range, because they're more attentive, they're fresh out of their training. I think just like any other industry, you're in it for a while, you just get in the routine and you stop learning,
No, these people were lying.
Or just outright lying. That doesn't work either. All right, let's see. Saray says, my question is, as an eager loan signing agent, how do you price yourselves that are fair, competitive, but don't make you feel shortchanged? Is there any list of fees that can be helpful to go by? I'm in California, South Bay area. The time it takes to get to the signing as well as the time you're at the signing really adds up, in addition to printing and some of the scan backs. Any input would be greatly appreciated. I think this is probably one of the most popular questions we have. Laura, can you take this one?
I'm still trying to catch up with this whole question.
Yep.
So it looks like the fear is that they want to be competitive, but they're concerned that that competitive price will not cover all their expenses, that it won't be a profitable job for them. And I guess the two things is, one, sometimes I guess wrong. And I do a job that really wasn't profitable in the end. It happens. And I say, okay, that's one more experience. I know I don't want to drive there. I know where that is now, or I know what kind of package this is now. And so sometimes I do learn from trial and error. The other thing is that when I know that what I'm being asked to do is not going to make me any money, I'm going to be upside down, I have the power to choose. And I choose not to take that kind of job because it leaves me open for another opportunity that's going to be better than the one I turned down. So I guess those are the two things that I focus on. And when one of the examples you gave, which is, faxing or scan backs, one of the things, like when I was called last night, I let them know up front, does this job have back end work, such as scanning or faxing? Because I'm not interested in those jobs. She said, well, let me check. This is Amrock, and I must have been on the call a good 5-6 minutes negotiating what was going to be part of that signing, what were the requirements. And it was at like 8:30, 9, it was set for 9 o'clock last night. And so I said, well, here's my fee, which I know my fee is much higher than most other notaries that Amrock uses. But they said, okay. And I said, okay, and that's no scan backs. And, I just relayed all of those requirements for that fee. And it worked out just fine. So I think the thing is don't be afraid to say, you know what, that is a 90-minute commute for me to get to where you're asking me to go. I'm available and I'm happy to do it for you, but here's what it would take for me to do it. And so I'm honest about that. I mean, I'm not a nonprofit, right? And neither are they. So it has to go back and forth. On the weekend, I had somebody offer me a job and I said, okay, but here's my fee. And they came back at $5 less than what I asked for. You know what that is? That's a power struggle.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's what I said. No, thank you. It was for Sunday morning. No, thank you. I'm good. And then they called back 5 minutes later and said, we'll pay it.
And then your fee went up by $50.
I should have, right? But by this time I was just like, okay, I just wanted you to see that you can hold your ground and they'll come back to you. I've done work for this company. They know my work. It was for a Sunday. It's not like they're going to find 50 notaries who wanted to come out on a Sunday and they were calling me on Saturday. So yeah, I'm I hold to what I know works for me and allows me to make my bottom line. And I'm not afraid to share that. They're in business. They realize it.
Yep. I love that. There's a lot of power in that. The thing, I love what you talk about with the trial and error though, because we put, I think, so much pressure on ourselves to know everything about every fee, and it just doesn't happen that way. We've all been out there. We all had to start. We had to get started, and we got to figure it out. What's cool about this business is that we have a general baseline of what the industry standard fees are, and it's, granted, it can be a wide variety, but we have a general idea. And any decision that you choose to make for yourself does not have to be justified to any other notary, to any other commission. You don't have to say, I took a $60 signing, can you please forgive me? You know, you don't have to ask any of us for forgiveness on that. You get to decide that for yourself. But then also, one decision doesn't sink your business. It's not like this multi-billion-dollar business deal, right? I drove too far for this one. It took me an hour and a half to get there. I sat there for an hour and a half back. I got paid $60. That, you calculate the math and your expenses. Nobody wants to work for free. So you learn that, and you're like, well, I'm not going to that zip code again for $60. And you just learn as you go and modify. Don't try to give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack, and learn from the experience. The power, what you're going to learn more from your mistakes than you are from your successes. Carol, anything to add on fees?
Yeah, kind of. I've done a transition in the way I'm running my business and handling my graduates, because I've for a long time I've said, please don't take the $40 signing or the $50 signing. You're worth more. Sign up with the companies, blah, blah, blah. But I'm learning something different, and I want people to, was sort of what you said, give yourself permission to do whatever is best for you. And I'm finding that it's real easy to get these jobs that are $30, $40, $50. There's companies out there constantly reaching out and paying practically nothing. And I've changed my mind about something. I think when you're brand new, I think it's a good thing to take a few of those. Don't get tied up with them so that you don't have time to take something really good when it comes along. But I have learned that, and because I used to kind of put people down, to be honest with you, and get upset when one of my graduates would take things like that. But I'm learning now it's a real good way to learn very quickly. Get that experience. It's worth it, even if you were not to get paid. And that's just a little bit of, I think, wisdom that I've come up with, and it's taken me a while to do that. But I'm finding a difference between the graduates that are extending themselves out there just for the purpose of learning and getting experience. Money has nothing to do with it. And that's all. For those that are brand new out there, I just want to pass that on. It's okay. I've changed my mind about that and how I look at it.
I love that. I completely agree. And I wrote a blog article about that. I'll post a link to it in the chat window, because I think that's real important. This can act as a paid internship in many ways. Yeah. There's a lot of power in that, and it can also be a trap. So you've got to be aware of the trap, right? So you don't want to undervalue yourself and work forever at $43 or $50. And we also have to understand that sometimes California is way different than it is in Tennessee or Iowa. So there's a variance across the board, and it's so important just to do what's right for you in your situation. Now, if you have, and keep the big picture in mind, because if you have a client that you really want to work with, but they have a hard, strict rule, 50 signings under your belt before they'll even look at you, then what are you going to do? Are you just going to say, well, I'm not going to sit here and take any signings, and then it's going to take me 2 years to get to 50 signings? Or am I going to take $50, $43 signings so I can get what I want, which is my foot in the door with that company? There's all kinds of different ways to look at it. So you've got to do what's right for you. And I just posted that article on there. So if you want to catch up about how important it is just to make the decision that's best for you guys. All right. Mike says, in Arizona, we are able to group documents in our journal. As I understand, I could do one line and have all the various loan document titles listed, and then have the signer sign once in my journal. I know this is state specific, but if I'm understanding this correctly, and if so, what would be the drawback to doing this? I'm in AZ, so I can speak to this. You do understand it correctly. In fact, they just clarified that rule in Arizona, that you can just do one entry per person for a loan document package. And the drawback to doing that is just that if something were to happen down the road, there's not necessarily an individual document record, except what you may have listed in your journal record. But according to the state law, that is what we do, and that is what I do. It helps signing stay more efficient. Laura, what do you think on that one, though?
Well, yeah, that is the law for Arizona. I'm familiar with that. And I would say the drawback is what you mentioned, is how good a record that you have, should it be relied upon in court later. I think of my journal entry along with my certificate that I filled out, signed, and stamped as my attestation. And I'm the eyes and ears of the court for any future challenges with these documents. And so if I'm called up to speak about that, my journal, particularly since I don't have the documents anymore, can tell a story about how much work I did with that person, and anything that pertained to a particular document that I notarized, because I would be writing notes in my additional information. So my journal's my BFF. I personally am stuck in a state where it's the other end and I have to write everything. But I have been called to court several times, not only for my own notarizations, but to be an expert witness for other notaries that have done or not done the job well. And what I look to is their journal, and what did they write, and how does that look, and is there enough information? Of course, that could be a big if for you. You could go your whole career and nothing ever happened. So I think you have to decide what the balance is and how long your loan signing is going to go, and how much protection you're trying to build in for yourself for the maybe.
Perfect.
I'd like to add just a little something to that I think is so important on the journals, no matter where you're at. Consistency. Let's say, for instance, that you give an oath. You do it every time that you do a signing. You make a little O somewhere, or make a notation that you've provided an oath. If you're called to court, it's the consistency. It's not just saying, oh yeah, on that one I did. No, if you can show consistency in your journal for everything that you do, and they see that, your word and your journal stand up for themselves.
Great advice. In fact, some states have that written into it too, is to stay consistent throughout, no matter what you're doing.
Right.
All right. BJ says, did a loan signing a few days ago, which included the Patriot Act. I did not have to notarize it. I just had to verify the information. However, the form had the title of Notary Public. I wrote Notary Signing Agent. Is that correct?
Nope. You're not acting as a notary. You should just sign, your title is signing agent.
Yeah, I think you can take, there's probably different perspectives on this. I specifically do not call myself a signing agent. I just sign as the notary. I don't even put Notary Public on there, on the title of that document. So I think probably either one are acceptable on that. Laura, any opinion on it?
Yes, of course, I have an opinion on this.
I love it.
Just from the standpoint of what the law tells us in almost every state, is that our title of office, Notary Public, is only acceptable to be utilized with our signature in connection with the notarization. So anytime I'm handling a document that I'm not notarizing, then the term Notary Public should not be the way I'm signing. It's not in that capacity, because I don't have a seal going on. I don't have a notarization going on. I haven't read all 50 states, but I've read quite a few of them that have the same requirement, which is don't use your title of office for things other than notarization. So my recommendation for me is that I use signing agent, or if I don't have to put a title, I don't. I just put my signature, no big deal. But I will not use the title of Notary Public on the Patriot Act, or other forms that I may have to handle in a loan signing.
Well, I've been teaching for 10 years, and I've been teaching the same thing for 10 years, and I've never, ever had anybody say there was a problem.
Yeah.
If you're not acting as a notary on the document, don't sign notary.
There you go.
There you go.
Melanie, you mentioned there are some notary agencies to use, but other than that, you prefer to stay away from them. Would you mind sharing which you trust so I don't get off to a rocky start? This is another one of those common questions that we get, and there's, I know if you've signed up for a course, there's going to be some resources for you. There is also Carrie's site, notaryreviews.org, that has a very comprehensive list of rated signing agencies that you can refer to, plus Notary Reviews. What's the other one? Notary Rotary has their list. Is kind of antiquated. And then the online forums too, where people share information. Laura, Carol, do you have any specifics to add on that?
I start right with Carrie's. I was maintaining my own based on my own experience and how I rate my own companies. And anybody who worked with me privately, I shared that list with them. Now Carrie's group does such a great job. It's so much less work for me. They're rated. There's a lot of them there. And that's where I would go. And she has a very nominal fee to get access to that. I think it's $20 a year. And I personally signed up just so that if I want to take on a company I haven't worked with before, I can look there.
Yep, love it. Elisa says, I have a question regarding the Patriot Act ID requirements. Most of the forms now have a requirement for 2 forms of ID. However, some of the forms have one from Section 1 and one from Section 2 statement. And some have 2 forms of any of the listed IDs. When a buyer comes to the table with their driver's license and a passport, I feel kind of stupid telling them I can't use both because they are listed in Section 1 doesn't meet the requirement from Section 2. Am I looking too deeply into this? Has anyone ever used both the driver's license and the passport as the 2 forms of ID? Laura, what do you think?
I have used both. I have to say, I've never had a rejection. And if I say, get that second ID, and they say, I got my passport in the bedroom, great, bring it out. I've used both. And they've never kicked it back.
Yeah, I've been in the same boat. And I feel like the secondary form list is just a suggestion list if they don't have 2 from the top. That's how I've always kind of approached this, but I use them all the time, passport and ID.
Yeah.
On that. Carol, what do you think? Any experience differently on that?
Oh, my daughter just had an experience and was told no, she could not list the passport as the secondary ID, so they had to get a utility bill.
Interesting.
I know.
There you go. You know, the thing is that it depends on the lender, depends on the signing company, it's a title company. You know, I can tell you that most of the time it's probably not a problem. I've never had an issue. But you're going to get some that are going to be sticklers and say, no, that has to be from the second group.
If I were a notary godmother, I would go, please, uniformity in documents, number 1, and uniformity in what you require on those documents. Would that be wonderful?
It would be.
It would be wonderful. Somebody's writing on their screen. Let me see. I don't know how to stop that. So if you're doing that, please watch it. Probably somebody on the tablet. Chuck says, where's the best place to buy a printer locally? Like what store? And Carol, what kind of HP printer do you have or recommend?
Okay. First of all, there's a couple of things that you might want to know about when you're looking around for something. If you find a printer or anything, refrigerator, anything, and you're trying to price compare, there's a place, I don't know if people know about this, but it's called BizRate, and it's on the internet. It's on the internet. And you just type in whatever model of something that you're looking for, and it will give you a whole list of stores that sell it and who happens to have the currently best price. I'm going to talk about the printer that we used to have and what happened, because people should know this. When we had a Ricoh years and years ago. It was a great printer, got it at Costco. When it went, I was looking for an HP. I happen to love HP. And I went directly to HP along with other places, and I found a great printer that was, it was an older model. It was just a year old, and they took it off of their main, the focus for that year. And it was $650, which back then was a decent price, believe it or not, for a dual tray. But it had a rebate on it, $450. So we bought it, and in a couple of months, I got my $450 back. We had that for 3 years, doing 70 signings a month. So it was a ton of documents. And then it started to go. We paid $300 for somebody to come and refurbish it. And it lasted up until a couple of years ago. That was a good deal, because that was a total of probably, I think it was like 9 years we had this printer. We've had a problem, and I know, Bill, you're for the Brother printer. We had a problem. Lori bought that printer, and it didn't work. I happen to like HP. Some people don't. Right now, we have one that's fairly inexpensive. I do not have a dual tray on it, but I do have page separator, which I love. And it's just a plain monochrome laser, and it's a single tray. It was only $229, and it's a little workhorse. It takes toner, not cartridges, so it's less expensive. And we can print both legal and letter with page separator. It works great. So that's what we have.
Beautiful. And then as far as where to purchase it, I love that you recommended BizRate. If that works, I tend to go to Amazon. I love to support local, but it's really hard to find locally owned electronic stores anymore that are still in business. So I found Best Buy to be a waste of time. They don't know what we're talking about. Office Max usually has more inkjets than laser jets. So I know that in the notary computer, there's like two, like there's the HP fans, and there's a model that they talk about all the time. And then there's the Brother, the HL 5200 or the 6200. Dual tray, just both workhorses. They're going to get the job done. They cost less than $300. It's like, just jump in, buy one. You also have the page separator option. That's, if you already have a printer that will take legal size paper, you can spend $70 and get the pro version of page separator or whatever it is at the time, and use that as your workaround. But you don't. I wouldn't let the printer. You don't have to go out and reinvent wheels and let it jam you up. There are things that are working now, so jump in and kind of tinker and expand. But I will tell you that if you're a Mac user, that changes things a lot. Macs, the driver doesn't communicate really well with Adobe and the Brother printers especially, so you might run into some challenges with that.
There's one warning I want to put out there for anybody who's really new, because this is something I deal with all the time. New students will come home and they're very happy. They've got their printer, their dual tray printer, and it's not a dual tray. There's a difference between a 2-tray printer and a dual tray printer. 2-tray printer means it'll print legal and letter. It's got 2 trays. A dual tray printer, and they sell this all the time. They don't know what they're talking about because they think it's a 2-tray printer. My students will get it home and they go, well, it doesn't work. It's not a dual tray. Salesmen don't know what they're talking about. So when you're out there looking and shopping, make sure, if you have to go to the manager of the store, if you have to call the manufacturer and make sure that that model actually has the dual tray capacity. Dual tray meaning that it knows the difference between legal and letter and prints on appropriate paper. That's it.
Speaking of this, I just got a private question, and this has been coming up a lot too. If you don't have that, is it acceptable to just print everything on legal size paper?
Expensive. Has anybody priced legal paper lately?
Legal
oh
paper.
My God.
But I'll tell you.
Walmart was the cheapest place I found, and that was $21 for a box of 5 reams.
That's cheap.
Amazon, $87 for a case.
That's pretty crazy. but so not only do you have the expense, guys, but it's typically not acceptable. Like, this is part of being ready for yes. If you're going to take this business seriously, get prepared for this. The expectation from your clients is that you are a professional and that you're going to print on both letter and legal size as per the file. That means you're not going to shrink it down and try to squeeze, and this actually happened to me, squeezed 9 pages onto one letter size piece and had the borrower sign super tiny on all the pages. That's not acceptable.
What?
Yeah. That's just not what they're expecting.
Wait a minute.
Exactly. Also, shrinking it down even from letter size just to letter size, sometimes they get cut off. Even if you shrink it down, some of those, that causes a big problem. There's implications for all of these. That's not our place to make those decisions. The expectation is it gets returned the way they sent it. So you want to, number one, get yourself prepared. Let's say something happens and it's just not working. It's, you're in a crunch, you can't do anything. It is better to print on all legal size than on letter size.
Right.
Because if the lender had to, or the closing agent had to, they could get a paper cutter and cut off the excess paper. Like if that affected their recording or affected the lender, like you get a lender like Provident, who is so particular about everything, maybe they have to adjust the paper size. But give them something to work with.
How about this scenario? Because this actually happened to Lori. They sent her documents, and for some reason, the way that they sent them, they totally cut off the barcode stuff at the bottom. She didn't know.
Right. How would she?
We looked at the documents. They looked normal, no problem. She had everything signed, sent everything back. Everything was perfect, except the barcode was missing. And they wanted her to go out and sign it all over again. Everything. Well, as it turned out, they've managed to fix whatever they had to do, and she just had to go out and get like 6 documents signed. But yeah, it wasn't there. It really was not there the way they sent it, and they finally admitted, well, it wasn't even there. But oh, poor thing. Yeah,
sometimes that's a double fee too, so that kind of works out sometimes. Elizabeth has sent me a private question too. She says, please help me. What is the cutoff time to accept a signing from a signing company in order for us not to make the mistake of accepting a last minute signing? I'm not quite sure I understand. Like, I guess the question might be is what qualifies as a last minute signing maybe? Laura,
I tell my students all the time, don't take last minute signings when they're new. That's where that comes from, I can tell you right now.
So how do we define what a last minute signing is? Would you say same day, Carol?
Oh, no, not same day, but if they call you at 4:00 and they've got a 5:30 signing, then it's disaster. We know it's disaster unless they can put give you the documents through the phone right then and there.
Which never happens. Well, so,
I deal with this with the students all the time. It's miserable.
Here's the thing. If you get a last minute signing like that scenario Carol just said, if they call you at 4 for a 5:30 signing, it's already a disaster. Right. That means it has hit the fan. Right. A notary bailed on them, or they're so upset because they have to close that day, or their rate's going to expire, rate lock's going to expire. Something is happening. So if you take it and you're under that much pressure, the lender's under that much pressure, it's just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So especially if you're new, I definitely recommend. I don't even like to recommend same day signings. What I have learned is that you guys are going to do it anyway. So you're going to be so excited to get your first signing that you're just going to jump in and do it. But try to give yourself a cushion of 4 or 5 hours and then find out how flexible they can be just in case. Laura, what do you think?
Yeah, I usually like to have a 2-hour window. But again, I've been doing this for a long time. So I know how to deal with all the different things that can come up to create a problem for me. And I do take a sign when they say, hey, you know what, the notary bailed, they're waiting. How fast can you get there? I can accurately, because of my experience, have a good idea to say, you know what, it's going to take me this long to print. I need this much travel time. I need time to organize. I probably need about an hour at minimum, if they're in my town, I need an hour to get that all done and show up and not be rushed. Can they wait an hour?
Yeah.
You probably know your customers too.
My emergency. I'll try to respond and step in and take care of it for them, but I'm not going to jump through hoops that may cause me to miss something or create an error.
Yeah, I love that. And you probably have a backup for your backups too. Like me, I
do.
I got a backup, I got a printer, I got a backup printer, and I have backup options beyond that. So if something happens, I
got A, B, C, D.
Exactly. All right, guys. I know we're just past 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us on a Tuesday, growing yourself and your business. We really appreciate you tuning in. Carol, thank you so much for carving out so much of your time. And Laura, thank you as well for joining us and giving us a presentation. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Same time, same channel.
Have a great week.